Welcome back to BQ's Black Ops 6 Gun Guides. In this series, we're going to be diving deep into the detailed stats of each weapon and coming up with the best attachments and builds to use with each weapon. Today, we're looking at the Model L. Let's do it. Before we get into the video, if you're new here and want more Call of Duty content, hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. Starting with the most important factor of any weapon, the time to kill. We're going to start with body shots only and then talk about the headshot multiplier after as well. For those of you who don't know, the time to kill calculation is actually quite simple. It's 60 divided by the RPM multiplied by the shots to kill minus 1 multiplied by 1000 to get the data in milliseconds. We're actually given all of this data already. The Model L has an RPM of 600, making it the second worst in the AR category, behind the Goblin Mark II, which is a semi-automatic rifle. So the Model L is actually the slowest firing fully auto AR. Our base damage at our effective range of 44.4 meters is 27, so it'll take 4 shots to kill. When we run the calculation, we get a time to kill value of 300 milliseconds, which is right in the middle of the ARs in terms of time to kill. Once we get beyond 44.5 meters, our base damage is 22, so when we run the calculation again at this range, we get a time to kill of 400 milliseconds, which again is right in the middle in terms of time to kill at longer ranges. If we look at our time to kill chart, we can clearly see that the Model L has that 300 millisecond time to kill at its effective range of 0 to 44.4 meters, and that it will be a 4 bullet kill at this range. The Model L will have one of the faster time to kills up to that 44.4 meter range when comparing to the other assault rifles, but at its beyond effective range, it starts to fall off a fair bit, especially compared to the other ARs. At ranges beyond 44.4 meters, the Model L will have a time to kill of 400 milliseconds and will be a 5 bullet kill at this range, which is the third worst time to kill of the assault rifles at these ranges. But at the end of the day, we're talking milliseconds worse, so it will be incredibly hard to notice a difference. Black Ops 6 has headshot multipliers, so how does that affect the Model L time to kill? Let's take a look. The Model L headshot multiplier is roughly 1.14. So it will do 31 damage at the effective range. I'm going to list how many headshots you'll need in addition to at least one body shot to change the time to kill. At the effective range of 0 to 44.4 meters, there's no difference in time to kill, even if you land headshots. If you hit 4 headshots, it's the same time to kill as if you hit 4 body shots, so aiming for the head with the Model L has 0 benefit. However, where this does come into play is at its beyond effective range. So anything greater than 44.4 meters, you will need to land all 4 headshots for the time to kill to decrease. If you land all 4 headshots, the time to kill will be 300 milliseconds and a 4-shot kill. Another important factor to look at here is the bullet velocity. The hit reg in this game is a combination of hitscan and projectile, so bullet velocity will matter past a certain range. To get the hitscan range on a weapon, you can take the bullet velocity divided by 20, and that will be the range your gun will be hitscan. Anything after that range, it will be projectile based, and you may have to start leading shots slightly more than usual. That's why at range, you'll notice a slight delay in bullet registration. If you take a look at the chart, the Model L's hitscan range is 38.5 meters. Anything past that will be projectile based. When we compare the Model L to the other assault rifles here, you can see that it's going to excel in those mid-ranges where it can hold that 300 millisecond time to kill. That's when it's one of the best ARs in the game. You'll notice a slight drop off at long ranges, especially when comparing to the other ARs, but it's not significant enough to be worried about. Overall, the time to kill is very solid with the Model L. Taking a look at the recoil of the Model L, we can see that it has pretty small horizontal recoil of 14.68 degrees per second and has very moderate vertical recoil as well at 49.34 degrees per second. It's one of the easier weapons to control and you don't have to do a whole lot, especially when you have recoil adjusting attachments equipped. But even with no attachments, you only have to compensate for that vertical recoil, which makes it very easy. Overall, pretty easy to control the recoil on the Model L, and with a few recoil attachments, you'll be shooting like a pro in no time. Moving on to the mobility stats of the Model L, we're looking at movement speed, sprint movement speed, and strafe speed here. All of the assault rifles are actually very similar in these areas, but if we look at movement speed, which is just the base speed you'll be moving while holding the gun, the Model L has a value of 4.9 meters per second, which is the second fastest in the AR category. But like I said, all of the ARs are very close in this area, with the average movement speed being 4.91 meters per second. Looking at the sprint movement speed, the Model L has a value of 6.5 meters per second, which again is right in the middle of the AR category, with the average being 6.49 meters per second. And looking at the aim walking movement speed, the Model L has a value of 3.2 meters per second, which is right below the assault rifle average of 3.23 meters per second. So in terms of mobility, the Model L is pretty average when compared to the AR category. But like I said, these values are all very close for all of the assault rifles. Looking at the handling stats, we're looking at reload speed, empty reload speed, ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and slide to fire speed. When looking at reload speed, this is the speed of the reload with at least one bullet in the magazine. The Model L will reload in 2.83 seconds, which is the third best in the AR category, so the Model L catching a podium finish on the reload speed. Next, we have the empty reload quickness, which is the reload speed with no bullets left in the magazine. The Model L will reload an empty mag in 3.23 seconds, which is actually tied for the fifth best in the AR category and just above the average of 3.19 seconds. Looking at the ADS speed, the Model L has an ADS of 270 milliseconds, which is the second worst in the AR category. Looking at the sprint to fire speed, the Model L is pretty average here, coming in at 190 milliseconds, which is actually tied for the second worst along with 3 other ARs, and it's above the average of 185.71 milliseconds. Lastly, we have slide to fire speed, and the Model L, as well as all the other assault rifles, have the same slide to fire speed at 370 milliseconds. That's going to do it for the statistical breakdown of the Model L, and we're going to get into some of the best builds, at least builds that have been working for me. Starting with the Gunfighter build. This is always going to be the best build you can have on a weapon. The attachments we're rocking here are the Kepler Microflex optic. This is my personal favorite optic, but you can choose whatever optic you prefer. Ported compensator muzzle for that first shot recoil control and vertical recoil control. The reinforced barrel for increased bullet velocity and damage range. Precision foregrip for reduced idle sway and increased horizontal recoil. Extended mag 1 for increased mag size. Ergonomic grip for increased fire speeds. Balanced stock for increased movement, and the 5.56 NATO overpressured fire mod for increased bullet velocity. There are a lot of key stat changes here. Our bullet velocity increased by 63% to 1,251.3 meters per second, making this Hitscan up to 62.56 meters, which in this game, given the map size, all of your gunfights should be Hitscan with this. Our recoil gun kick decreased by 25%, horizontal recoil decreased by 20%, and vertical recoil decreased by 25%. Movement speed increased by 11% to 5.5 meters per second, crouch movement speed increased by 17% to 3.1 meters per second, and aim walking speed increased by 10% to 3.5 meters per second. Our ADS speed decreased by 20% to 215 milliseconds, and our slide to fire speed decreased by 50% to 185 milliseconds. Our reload speeds have decreased, but that's the only negative on this build. One last thing to note here is that our effective ranges also improved. The base effective range increased to 51.1 meters, so the Model L will be a 4-shot kill at this range. Anything beyond that will still be a 5-shot kill. Next, we'll have our silent build, which I like to call BQ in the shadows. The attachments we're rocking here are the Kepler Microflex optic, but again, this can be whatever you want it to be. The suppressor to keep us off the radar, the reinforced barrel for increased bullet velocity and damage range, the ergonomic grip for increased fire speeds, and the balanced stock for increased movement. Some key stat changes here are no minimap ping, obviously. Movement speed is increased by 11% to 5.5 meters per second. Crouch movement speed is increased by 17% to 3.1 meters per second, and aim walking speed is increased by 10% to 3.5 meters per second. Our ADS speed is decreased by 20% to 215 milliseconds, and our slide to fire speed is decreased by 50% to 185 milliseconds. With this build, you're gonna be like a fucking torpedo in the water. You never know when it's gonna hit. Lastly, we have the holy shit I can shoot straight build. The attachments we're rolling here are the Kepler Microflex optic, the ported compensator muzzle for first shot recoil and vertical recoil control, the precision foregrip for better idle sway and horizontal recoil, the combat stock for better flinch resistance and aim walking speed, and the recoil springs for increased vertical and horizontal recoil control. The key stat changes are decreased recoil gun kick by 32%, decreased horizontal recoil by 28%, decreased vertical recoil by 33%, and increased aim walking speed by 10%. What this thing lacks for in movement and all other areas makes up for in accuracy. This thing won't miss, and you'll have yourself saying, "Holy shit, I can shoot straight." That's going to do it for the Model L gun guide. The Model L is one of the best weapons in the game, and it's incredibly fun to use no matter the build. I want to hear from you guys. What's your favorite Model L build to use in Black Ops 6? Let me know in the comments. And if you're still here, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. We'll chat then.